السابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان.
نستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد. So we've been going through this section that is talking about all of the different sects. And the last one that we got up to was regarding the Shia, the sect of the Shia. And we did a brief introduction about them last time. And so today we'll go through some of the sects within the Shia and their beliefs. So firstly here then, firstly فرق الشيعة ينقسم الشيعة إلى فرق كثيرة جدا. So the Shia within themselves are actually many different groups, many different beliefs, many different subsects within the Shia. الفرقة الأولى الإسماعيلية، الفرقة الثانية الزيدية، الفرقة الثالثة الإمامية الاثنى عشرية. Those are the three that we'll have a look at. One being the Ismailiyah, one being the Zaydiyah, and one being the Imamiyah, the ones who are upon the 12 Imam belief. So firstly, Al-Ismailiyah, وهم الذين يسوقون الإمامة في علي ثم أولاده من بعده، الحسن ثم الحسين ثم علي بن الحسين ثم محمد بن علي بن الحسين الباقر ثم جعفر بن محمد بن علي بن الحسين الصادق ثم إسماعيل ابن جعفر، إلا أن إسماعيل هذا مات في حياة أبيه وقد أنعم. They are the Ismailiyah, the Ismailiyah sect of the Shia. They are the ones who believe the imamship, the authority runs down the lineage of Ali radiallahu anhu. So you have Ali radiallahu anhu, then after that Al-Hasan, then after that Al-Husayn, then after that his name was Ali again, then after that it was another Husayn, then after that Muhammad, then after that Ali, then after that Husayn, then after that Ja'far, then after that Ismail. They have that full lineage going down. Full lineage down through Ali radiallahu anhu, all the way down to Ismail, the son of Ja'far. But Ismail died during the lifetime of his father Ja'far. So he left behind a son whose name was Muhammad. This is the line of authority that they follow, the line of imamship that they follow. فمنهم من وقف على إسماعيل واعتبره الإمام. So there are those from among them who follow down this lineage and stop at Ismail and consider him to be the Imam to be followed. وأنه غاب بسبب خوفه على نفسه وهو لا يموت حتى يملأ الأرض عدلا كما ملئت جورا. And they believe that this Ismail went into hiding. That this Ismail went into hiding and that he will not die until the earth is filled with justice, just as it was filled with corruption and injustice. وَمِنْهُمْ, and some of the Ismailiyah من قال إن الإمام بعد جعفر هو حفيده محمد بن إسماعيل. Some of them, they say after Ja'far, when you go down that lineage and you get up to Ja'far, they say after Ja'far it was his grandson that comes next in line, which is Muhammad, the son of Ismail, because the individual Ismail, he died during his father's life. So they say he never took on the imamship, it's his son Muhammad who then took it on. So that is the grandson. It's like the chain is going down and then there's a gap there where it goes from Ja'far to his grandson rather than his son. ثم زعموا أنه ابتدأ من محمد بن إسماعيل بالأئمة المستورين. Then they believe from that line, from that level, from Muhammad ibn Ismail, and that is how many? That is Ali to Al-Hasan, to Al-Hussein, to Ali, to Al-Hussein, to Muhammad, to Ali, to Al-Hussein, to Ja'far, and then from Ja'far, if you go to the grandson, you're at 10 generations. From that 10th generation, thereabouts, they believe the Imams who came after that are the hidden Imams, the concealed and hidden Imams that came thereafter. الذين يدعون إلى المذهب في سائر البلدان وقالوا إن الإمام إما ظاهر مكشوف وإما باطن مستور. فإذا كان الإمام ظاهرا جاز أن يكون حجته مستورا وإذا كان مستورا فلا بد أن يكون حجته ودعاته ظاهرين. They have these strange beliefs that some of the Imams are hidden, concealed Imams, and some of them are apparent Imams. And they say it is permissible that an Imam can be apparent and open and known, or that one of the Imams could be concealed and hidden. And so they say if the Imam is apparent and known, then it's possible that his evidences may be concealed. And if he is concealed, then in that case his evidences must be apparent. All types of philosophical speech that makes no sense in reality. ومن إسماعيلية انبثق القرامطة والحشاشون والفاطميون والدروز. All of these types of sects you've heard of, they all came from the Ismailiyah. They are all a product of the Ismailiyah. The Fatimiyun, you read about them in the book Kashf al-Shubuhat, when Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab is explaining the principle that certain people, they used to make adhan, they used to pray, Jum'ah, everything, and yet they were declared as kuffar, like the Fatimiyun, because of their rejection of certain aspects of the Sharia. They rejected certain parts of the legislation, and so as a consequence they were declared non-Muslims. وَيُوجَدُ مِنْهُمْ فِي بِلَادِ الْهِنْدِ طَائِفَةً. Here the scholars, they mention right now in India, there are two types of them that are found there. وَهُمُ الْمُسَمَّوْنَ الْأَغَاخَانِيَّةِ وَالْبَهَرَةِ. These names that they have for the two sects that exist right now in India. كما يوجد المكارم في جنوب الجزيرة ويبدو أنهم امتداد للإسماعيليين الذين كانوا في اليمن وأسسوا هناك لهم دولة. So these other sects, the Makarima, etc., they all appear to have extended out from the Ismailiyah. And the Ismailiyah, they are the ones who were in Yemen. And they are the ones who established that area and that land of Yemen, or as it's recognized as now, as a country. What are the beliefs exactly of the Ismailiyya Shia? Al-Ismailiyya firqa batiniyya kafira. تظهر وتظهر الإسلام وتبطن الكفر وعقائدهم قائمة على. The Ismailiyya, they are a sect that are internally, inwardly upon kufr. Even though they portray Islam, the reality is that within they are upon kufr. And their beliefs can be summarized into some of these points. Firstly, inkar wujudillahi ta'ala. Their rejection of the existence of Allah. وإنكار أن يكون خالق السماوات والأرض. And they reject that He is the creator of the heavens and the earth. حيث يزعمون أن الله لا يصح وصفه بصفة الوجود ولا صفة عدم الوجود. And what we mean by this, because it would be surprising, how can they claim that Allah doesn't exist? What they mean, or what is meant by this, is just like many of the groups who went astray when it comes to names and attributes of Allah, al-asma'u was-sifat, they also went astray in that regard, and they said you cannot describe Allah as being existing, neither can you describe Allah as non-existing. These kinds of attributes, they said you cannot apply them to Allah. Just like the people of innovation, when they say certain attributes, you cannot apply them to Allah because they are attributes of creation. We are either in existence or you are not in existence. Something exists or something doesn't exist. They say that cannot be said about Allah. You cannot say Allah exists and is there, or that He doesn't exist and is not there. They say these types of things, you can't say them about Allah. But if you do that, then you are saying therefore that Allah doesn't exist. فيقولون أو يزعمون أن الله لا يصح وصفه بصفة الوجود لا صفة عدم الوجود. So they say you cannot attribute to Allah that He exists, that He's there, He's present, and neither can you attribute to Him the opposite of non-existence. كما لا يصح وصفه بصفة من الصفات مطلقا. The Ismailiyya Shia, they also believe that you cannot attribute to Allah any attribute. Just like many of the Mu'attilah who reject the names and attributes of Allah, the Ismailiyya, they say you cannot attribute to Allah any sifa, any attribute. وَهَذِهِ مَقُولَةُ الْفَلَاسِفَةِ. And that is exactly the type of speech that you hear from the philosophers, from their ideologies and their ways of thinking. وهم يقولون إن الله تعالى لم يخلق العالم إنما خلق العقل الفعال الذي خلق العالم. Now you see the philosophy. They say Allah did not create all of this creation, but rather Allah created al-aql al-fa'al, some type of intelligence. Allah created some type of intelligence, and this intelligent being, this intelligent thing, then created all of the creation. It wasn't Allah who created it, but Allah created al-aql al-fa'al. It's clear in Arabic. In English, like some type of intelligent entity that then created all of this creation. So they rejected being from Allah having created directly all of this creation. أما الله عندهم فهو منزه عن أن يخلق شيئا. According to them, they say, no, Allah, you cannot attribute to Him that He created these things as though it is below Allah to create this creation and these small things in creation as we are. They say Allah is to be freed of attributing these things to Him, that He created all of these affairs. So they say Allah didn't create. He created something, this intelligence that then created everything. وهذا الكلام منهم هو كلام الفلاسفة اليونانيين الوثنيين. And this type of belief of theirs is exactly like the Greeks, the Greek philosophers. And you hear and you learn about all those things, and they teach you in schools about the Greeks and their gods and everything. The Greek philosophers, that's the type of thing they were into. That is the type of thing they were involved in. That's what they believed, these types of entities and intelligent beings who then created the affairs. أخذها الإسماعيليون وادعوها فيما ادعوا من كفر. So the Ismailiyun, the Shia, they took these beliefs from the Greek philosophers, from their types of philosophy and ideologies and what they were writing. In those times, many of the Greek books of philosophy, which were written in the Greek language, in those days, centuries ago, many of them, they were translated into Arabic. And so a lot of that philosophy ended up spreading amongst the Arabs, and that philosophy became widespread amongst the people. At the time of Imam Ahmad, all the speech about the Quran being created and these affairs, a lot of it trickled down from the Greek philosophies and their ideologies. So the Ismailiyun, they took from that. That is in regards to their belief regarding Allah. In regards to their belief regarding the prophets and prophethood, قولهم في النبوات هو إنكار النبوات. They reject all of the prophethood that occurred, all of the prophets that were sent. وذلك بإنكارهم إن الله عز وجل هو الذي أوحى إلى أنبيائه بل يزعمون أن الأنبياء فاضت عليه من العقل الفعال تلك الأقوال التي يقولونها ثم يزعمون أن الأنبياء لهم دور وهو 7 أنا. So they say that the messages, the revelations that came to the prophets didn't. But in fact they say it was Allah. Or they reject that Allah revealed these messages upon them. وَذَلِكَ بِإِنْكَارِهِمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ هُوَ الَّذِي أَوْحَى إِلَىٰ أَنْبِيَائِهِ. They reject the fact that Allah revealed the revelations to His prophets. And we know, of course, Allah tells us in the Quran that's what He did. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Allah tells us we sent to every nation a messenger preaching to him, having taught him, having revealed to him what? أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and stay away from the false deities. And many other ayat and hadith which make it clear that the revelation came from Allah to the prophets and messengers. All of the books that came, the Zabur, the Tawrat, the Injil, all of those revelations, and every prophet and messenger was given a book from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every prophet and messenger was given a revelation. So they reject that Allah did that. But again they say it was this intelligence, like they say these days now, artificial intelligence, that it was this intelligence, there are probably good words for it in English, but this al-aql al-fa'al that then spread that and conveyed whatever it did to the prophets and messengers. And they have certain beliefs of this nature regarding the prophethood. As for their beliefs regarding the afterlife, قولهم في المعاد ينكر إسماعيلية البعث والقيامة والجنة والنار. The Ismailiyya Shia, they reject that there is going to be a resurrection, and they reject that there is paradise and hell. They reject all of that. يرون أن نظام الحياة الموجود هو الذي سيستمر ولا ينقطع أبدا. They believe that this worldly life, how it is right now, People, they are born, they live, they die. Others are born, they live, they die. This cycle. That this cycle of life as it stands right now, it's just going to continue like that forever. It just continues forever. We are all here now, and perhaps, inshallah ta'ala, Allah blesses us all with children, if not already. Then they, after some years, will have children. Then they, after some years, will have children. And it just continues and continues, and the human race just lives and lives to eternity on this earth. Nothing else. No afterlife, no resurrection. Just a continuity of this human race as it is. That's what they believe. وَزَعَمُوا أَنَّ الْقِيَامَةَ رَمْزٌ لِخُرُوجِ الْإِمَامِ. They said that all this talk about the Day of Judgment and everything about the Day of Judgment, it's not actually a Day of Judgment. They say all of that, the speech about the Day of Judgment and the evidences and everything, it is just symbolic. Symbolic upon what? Symbolic upon the arrival of the great Imam, as they believe. That all of that about the Day of Judgment isn't talking about an actual Day of Judgment that's going to occur. All of that is just symbolic in reference to a great Imam that is going to arise. وَهُوَ فِي زَعْمِهِمْ. And according to them, that is going to be the grandson of Ja'far, Muhammad ibn Ismail, according to them. وأن المعاندين للإسماعيلية وأعداؤها تبقى أرواحهم أبد الدهر في هذه الدنيا تنتقل من بدن إلى بدن. And they believe that those who reject Al-Ismailiyah, reject their beliefs and what they are upon, if you're not Ismaili, they believe that your soul simply continues to reincarnate as though you are in some type of perpetual punishment. You can never get out of this world. You are in this infinite cycle. Your soul, you die, it comes back reincarnated somewhere. You die, it comes back reincarnated somewhere. You're in this perpetual circle in this world, you cannot get out. And that's like your punishment for rejecting the way of the Ismailiyah. You are constantly reincarnated from body to body in this world, and you continue like that. That's what they believe. So if that's what they believe about the enemies to Ismailiyah, that's what happens to your souls. If you are enemies to Ismailiyah and you reject and refuse to believe their beliefs, you will continuously be reincarnated, and in this motion of life in this world can never get out of it. So they must believe that those who are Ismailiyah have something different with their souls. What do they believe about them? أما الأرواح الزكية فتتحد في العالم الروحاني بعد مفارقتها الجسد وذلك جنتها. They say that the Ismailis, those who believe their beliefs, when you die, you don't come back reincarnated to live again and reincarnated to live again, one body to the next, all of the difficulties of this world and hardship again and again and again. They say if you're Ismaili, when you die, your body goes into the spirit, like the spirit world. Your soul goes into the spirit world. And that is a type of world that is like paradise. Your soul goes into this spirit world where it is like paradise, and that's if you're Ismaili. If you're not, you never get to this amazing spirit world. Instead, when you die, your soul comes back into the body of another person. And you die and it comes back again, reincarnated in this circle. You can never get out of this terrible world. Only if you're Ismaili, you get out and go to the spirit world, into the paradise of the spirits and the souls as they are. This is the type of thing they believe. That is the Ismailiyah in brief. Then you have the Zaydiyah, another sect of the Shia, the Zaydiyah. The Zaydiyah هم من الشيعة الذين يرون أن الإمامة في علي رضي الله عنه وأولاده من فاطمة رضي الله عنها فيعتبرون عليا أولهم ثم الحسن ثم الحسين ثم زيد بن علي بن الحسين وهو الذي ينتسبون إليه ثم كل من قام وخرج من ولد فاطمة رضي الله عنها. They, the Zaydiyya, similar to the Ismailiyya, they believe that the imamship, it comes through the lineage of Ali radiallahu anhu. The imamship comes through the lineage of Ali radiallahu anhu from his children with Fatima. Fatima radiallahu anha, who was of course the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They believe their children, that lineage is the lineage of the Imams. So that makes Ali radiallahu anhu the first Imam. And then after that, Al-Hasan, then Al-Husayn, then Zayd. And he is the one that they attribute themselves to, the Zaydiyya, Zayd. Zayd, who was after Husayn and Hassan, and then his grandfather Ali. وهو الذي ينتسبون إليه ثم كل من قام وخرج من ولد فاطمة. So then after Zayd, every other child from that lineage, they believe he is the lineage of the Imam. وهم يخالفون الروافض في أنهم يعتبرون الإمام هو من قام وخرج ودعا إلى نفسه. فلهذا لم يعدوا من أئمتهم إلا من ضم إلى كونهم من نسل فاطمة رضي الله عنها الخروج والدعوة إلى نفسه. One of the things that separates them from the normal Rafida is that they believe the imamship comes through that lineage, but not automatically. There has to be conditions. If you're in that lineage, you're not automatically in the imam line. In that lineage, if you stand up and call the people, you give da'wah, then you are considered an imam in the line. If you do not do that, even if you are in that line, that lineage, you're not considered an imam with them. The imam is the one who is in that lineage, but then goes out and calls and gives da'wah to himself. Ila nafsihi, calls the people to himself, I am the imam. And brings and conveys to the people that. فلهذا قالوا إن الإمام بعد الحسين هو زيد بن علي بن الحسين فلم يعتبروا أباه علي بن الحسين ولا أخاه محمد بن علي بن الحسين من الأئمة. So if you look at the lineage, there are certain people in the lineage who the Zaydiyya do not consider as part of their imams, because they were not from among those who, according to them, called out to the people and gave da'wah to themselves and declared and proclaimed imamship for themselves. So they say those ones are not considered in the line of the imams, but those who did, they are the ones considered as their line of imams. وَزَيْدْ هُوَ الَّذِي تَنْتَسِبُ إِلَيْهِ الزَّيْدِيَّةِ. So Zayd is the one that they attribute themselves to. كان مولده سنة 80 هجري. He was born, Zayd was born in the year 80 Hijri. So very early on, in the year 80 Hijri, which is in fact the same year that Al-Imam Abu Hanifa was born. In the year 80 Hijri. The last companion to die was in the year 110. 110 Hijri was the last companion to die. The Salaf, the last of the Salaf to die was in the year There's an easy way to remember. The last companion died in the year 110 Hijri. The last of the Salaf, meaning the first 3 generations, the last of the Salaf that died times 2.
Is it somewhere in the 300s? Somewhere in the 300s.
But 110 times 2 gets you into the 300s?
I need to count.
You need to count again.
Yeah.
110 times 2, 220. 220. 220. 220 Hijri, and I heard you 210 as well. 220 Hijri, that's where the last of the companions died, the last of the Salaf died. The last of the Salaf, 220 Hijri. There is of course a little bit of difference of opinion. Can you consider the Salaf as the generation of the companions, then their students, then their students? That stops at 220. But some scholars, they might say that the Salaf is excluding the companions. They are automatically there. It's their students who are the first generation, then their students second generation, and therefore like a fourth generation basically. The companions, then 1, 2, 3, 4 altogether, which would take you beyond 220. But the majority say no, the companions are the first, then their students the tabi'een, then the atba' tabi'een. So you have the 3 generations ending at 220. Zayd was born in 80 Hijri. By 80 Hijri, the majority of the companions had died. There were only few companions left after 80 Hijri. Many of them had passed away by then. The last of them to die in 110 Hijri. So he was born in 80 Hijri. ثم خرج على هشام بن عبد الملك. And then it's mentioned how he went out against Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik in the year 122 Hijri. وبعد أن التف عليه قريبا من 40,000 من الشيعة. And that was after approximately 40,000 of the Shia who were following him and they believed in him. 40,000 of them were with him. And there are some stories about what occurred. ثم إن زيدا خرج بمن معه في سنة 122 أو 22 in the year 122 وقتل فيها رحمه الله وغفر له. And he was killed in that year in the year 122. That's a brief background. But what are the aqidah points? The aqidah beliefs of the Zaydiyya then. الزيدية على ما هو مشتهر عنهم لا يختلفون كثيرا عن من. The Zaydiyya, they do not actually differ a huge amount from Ahlus-Sunnah. المشتهر عنهم لا يختلفون كثيرا عن أهل السنة في الأحكام. In the rulings and the ahkam of things, they're not actually too far off. ويعظمون القرآن والسنة الواردة في الصحيحين. And they respect the Quran and they respect the Sunnah in Al-Bukhari and Muslim. They respect that. وغيرهما من كتب الحديث. And other than them from the books of hadith, they respect that. ويعظمون صحابة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ويعرفون لهم فضلهم. And they respect the companions of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, revere them and recognize the virtue of the companions so far as Ahlus-Sunnah. But إلا أنهم, however, the problem, أنهم يزعمون أن عليا أحق بالخلافة ممن عداه ويرون أن أبا بكر وعثمان وعمر وعثمان رضي الله عنهم ولوا فعدلوا فلا يطعنون فيهم ويرون أن ذلك من باب الخطأ ومنهم من يغلو فيطعن في الخلفاء فيقع بذلك في الرفض. They believe, though, one issue that they have, they believe that Ali radiallahu anhu was most deserving to be the Khalifa. They say, though, however, Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman radiallahu anhum, they obviously took the Khilafah before Ali. They took the Khilafah, but they were just. They took the Khilafah, but they were just. They believe, though, Ali radiallahu anhu was supposed to have taken the Khilafah. So this is obviously completely in contradiction to Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah and what is established that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was the most deserving, then after him Umar, then after him Uthman, then after them Ali. They say no, Ali should have had it. But they do not go into criticism of the others. But they say it was a mistake, it was wrong. Ali should have done or should have been given the Khilafah. But then some of them go into extremes and begin abusing and criticizing Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman, and if you get to that level, you're not Zaydi then you've gone into being outright Rafidi, if you get to that level. So the Zaydis are like a watered down version. They're slightly at the lower end, but they are upon that misguidance and misbelief. وَهُمْ فِي الْعَقَائِدِ, because as you'll see now, it's not just that. It is not just that one point of the Khilafah. They have issues in Aqidah. فِي الْعَقَائِدِ يَرَوْنَ مَذْهَبَ الْمُعْتَزِلَةِ. We'll get to the Mu'tazila as well in detail. They believe the same beliefs as the Mu'tazila when it comes to names and attributes and the decree and other affairs. And that is completely in opposition to Ahlus-Sunnah. ويقولون به ولا يتعدونه سواء في الأسماء والصفات والقدر. So they are upon the Mu'tazili way. They are Mu'tazila. And we'll come to see how the Mu'tazila are completely out of Ahlus-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So they are upon the same aqidah as the Mu'tazila in the names and attributes, in the decree of Allah. وغير ذلك من أقوال المعتزلة ومذاهبهم المنحرفة في هذه الأبواب. So they follow the Mu'tazila in all of those affairs, in Aqidah and different issues. فعلى هذا فالزيدية أقرب الشيعة إلى أهل السنة في مسألة الصحابة والخلفاء. So in Aqidah they are deviated like the other groups of deviation, the Mu'tazila. But from all of the Shia, the Zaydiyya are the closest to the ground with Ahlus-Sunnah in regards to the issue of and the beliefs and the stances regarding the companions and the khulafa. Because the bottom end ones, they don't particularly go into Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman. They say it's a mistake though, Ali should have got the Khilafah, but they are very light about it. So they are the closest in terms of, or they are the least furthest away, you could say. Then all the other types of Shia, they are more extreme. So they are the least extreme of them, you could say. وَلَيْسَ عِنْدَهُمْ شيء مما هو من دين الإسماعيلية أو الرافضة الإمامية من المسائل الكفرية التي سيأتي على ذكرها. As for the other issues that are outright kufr, like we spoke about now, how Allah didn't create anything, created this intelligence and all those types of affairs, in those issues and other matters of kufr, the Zaydis don't have that. The Zaydis do not have those types of affairs like the Ismailiyya and the Rafidah. So the Zaydis are at the least extreme end. But they are still misguided, and they are from the groups of misguidance and innovation, and with the Mu'tazila in the names and attributes and all types of affairs. But from all the groups of the Shia, they are at the bottom end. All the other groups are worse and more extreme than them. The final one we're going to briefly mention is the, in English what do they call it? The 12 Imamas?
The
12ers. So this one now, Al-Imamiyya, Al-Ithni Ashriyya. هذه هي الفرقة الثالثة من الشيعة التي سنبين بعض ما يتعلق بها من تعريف وعقائد ونبين بطلان ما ادعوه من افتراءاتهم وأقوالهم. So this is the third sect we'll have a look at briefly from the Shia, the 12ers. تعريفها, so the definition of what these 12ers are: هم القائلون بإمامة علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله عنه نصا ووصية من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، ثم من بعده الحسن، ثم في أولاده الحسين على الترتيب. They are the ones who say that Ali رضي الله عنه was the Imam by text and by the advice and the counsel of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Ali radiallahu anhu was deserving to be the Imam. Then after him, Al-Hasan. And then after him, from the lineage of Al-Hasan. So they say in order altogether, it's Ali after Al-Hasan, ثم في أولاد الحسين, from the children of Hussein afterwards. So Ali, then Hassan, then Hussein, and then the children of Hussein, Ali, the son of Hussein, then Muhammad, the grandson of Hussein, and then Ja'far, the same lineage as we mentioned before. Ja'far, the great grandson, Ja'far ibn Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Hussein, then Musa ibn Ja'far. Going beyond the lineage where we got to there, Musa, the son of Ja'far, Al-Kadhim. Then Ali, the son of Musa. Then Muhammad, the son of Ali, the son of Musa. We're going further down now to 12 generations. Before we stopped at 10, now it's gone to 12. Then after that, Ali ibn Muhammad ibn Ali al-Hadi. Then Al-Hasan after that. Thumma, and then at the end, Muhammad ibn al-Hasan ibn Ali. And this last one, Muhammad ibn al-Hasan ibn Ali. And then carry on going up, 12. That last one, Muhammad ibn Hassan, they say he is the Imam Mahdi. They believe he is the Mahdi. That one down there in the lineage, as you go down and down, they believe he is the Mahdi. Muhammad ibn al-Hasan ibn Ali, and then upwards. This particular group, the 12ers, have different names. They are known as the Imamiyya. They are known as the 12ers, Al-Ithna Ashariyya. They are known as the Ja'fariyya. They are known as Rafida generally. All of those names are applicable to them. So what are the beliefs of the 12ers? In terms of their beliefs, firstly in regards to Al-Imamah. Al-Imamah هي أهم ما يتميز به الرافضة من العقائد. وقد انحرفوا فيها على نواح عدة وسنذكر بعض ما يتعلق بهذه المسألة لديهم. So in terms of the imamah, the imamship and their beliefs about the imams, that's the primary thing here. Firstly, they believe أن الإمامة عندهم ركن من أركان الدين. This imamship principle, according to them, is a pillar from the pillars of the religion. Like we have the 5 pillars of Islam, according to them, Imamship is another pillar added on to the pillars of Islam. ويعتقد الرافضة أن الإمامة ويقصدون بها إمامة آل البيت أو إمامة المجموعة التي يعتقدون إمامتهم أنها ركن من أركان الدين فلا يصح إسلام أحد ما لم يؤمن بالأئمة الذين رتبوهم. So they believe this imamship is a pillar from the pillars of Islam. So if you don't believe in the imamship of that order that we just read through, the 12 generations, you don't believe in that imamship, then your Islam is not valid. You have missed a pillar from the pillars of Islam if you do not believe in that imamship in that order that they have highlighted. وادعوا له نعم. ولهذا روى الكليني عن أبي جعفر الباقر أنه قال بني الإسلام على 5. It is narrated from them that in that lineage, Ja'far, he mentioned that Islam is built upon 5. على الصلاة والزكاة والصوم والحج والولاية ولم ينادي بشيء كما نودي بالولاية فأخذ الناس ب4 وتركوا هذه يعني الولاية. So he said Islam is built upon 5. They narrate the prayer, the zakat, the fasting, the hajj, and the imamship, the wilayah. That's how they claim it, as a pillar from the pillars of Islam. In another narration that they claim, في رواية أخرى لهم جعلوا الإسلام 3 أركان. In another narration that they have, they made Islam as 3 pillars. As 3 pillars. Al-Wilayah, the imamship, as one of those pillars, and that's mentioned in the narration they have. في الإسلام ثلاثة الصلاة والزكاة والولاية. In that narration they say Islam is three things: the prayer, the zakat, and that imamship. ولا تصح واحدة منهن إلا بصاحبتها. And none of those can be valid unless you believe in the other ones. So your prayer is not valid until you believe in the zakat and the imamship. Your zakat you give won't be valid until you believe in the prayer and do that and the imamship. Meaning your imamship belief has to be there for all the other pillars to be valid and correct. Otherwise they are all dropped. As we say as Ahlus-Sunnah, if you don't have the shahada, then your other pillars won't be established. But they say the wilayah. If you don't believe in that wilayah in order, the rest of your pillars are broken, gone. Well, and then they have other things as well that they say regarding that. بيان بطلان قولهم والرد عليهم. So briefly, how can we refute these narrations? They say these are hadith and these are narrations. How can we refute this? Basically, هذه الدعوة من الرافضة بأن الإمامة ركن من أركان الدين باطلة من عدة أوجه. From multiple angles you can refute this belief of theirs that the imamah, the imamship is a rukn, a pillar from the pillars of Islam. You can refute that in multiple ways. Firstly, أن زعمهم أنها ركن من أركان الإسلام كذب منهم فلم يرد عن الله تعالى ولا عن رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم ذكر ذلك. Firstly, obviously this is an outright lie, because nowhere is it mentioned from Allah in the Quran, from the Messenger in the Sunnah, that Islam has a sixth pillar of al-wilayah. That is not mentioned anywhere in the evidences. So we know straight away this is a lie from them. بل كلها يروونها عن جعفر بن محمد بن علي الملقب بالصادق وليس هو مشرع. All of these narrations they have, they don't go back to the messenger, they go back to only Ja'far. In that lineage, to Ja'far, and Ja'far cannot legislate. That's not revelation coming from that point. The revelation has to have the chain of narration going up. So all of the narrations, they only go back to Ja'far. وَلَيْسَ لِقَوْلِهِ اعْتِبَارٍ إِلَّا فِي حَالَةٍ مُوَافَقَتِهِ لِكَلَامِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى أو كلام رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And what Ja'far says, if these narrations are established, if they are even established, that what he says would only be accepted if it was in line with what Allah and the Messenger have said. But otherwise, to make this type of claim that we have a narration from Ja'far telling us about the sixth pillar of Islam and no such thing exists in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger, and we know this is a lie. Secondly, as we said, if it's even established, secondly, it is not established. These narrations are not established in the first place to even Ja'far. رواياتهم عن جعفر الصادق مسلسلة بالمجاهيل وهم يكذبون على آل البيت وينسبون إليهم ما لم يقولوه. These narrations that they have, claiming, going back to Ja'far, all of the chains of narration have unknown narrators in them. And we know that in a chain of narration, if there is an unknown narrator, then that chain of narration becomes weak. If I now say, I tell you a story, and I say, I heard this story from, and I mention one of the scholars to you. I heard this story from Sheikh Abdullāh al-Bukhari. And he told us he heard this story from Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad. And he told us he heard this story from Khalid, the son of Muhammad, who heard the story from Sheikh Hamad al-Ansari. The chain is looking good, except who's this guy called? Khalid Muhammad. Or Muhammad Khalid, or anybody. Who is that guy? Nobody has any idea who this guy is in the chain of narration. An unknown person. Nobody knows who he is. Is he a reliable narrator? Is he authentic? Who is he? What is he? Where is he? No idea who he is. An unknown individual. So that chain of narration now becomes unacceptable. Because that person you're narrating from, who is this person? Who is this individual? Is he trustworthy? Is he not trustworthy? Is he a liar? Is he what? And the reality is, these individuals in these chains of narration, they are unknown individuals, liars upon the family of the Prophet ﷺ, and they attribute to them that which they did not say. Meaning these liars in the chains of narration attribute to the family of the Prophet ﷺ what the family of the Prophet ﷺ did not say. Thirdly, and the obvious third refutation is that not only did the messenger not mention this sixth pillar, we actually have a narration telling us definitively that there are only 5 pillars, and those are mentioned without any mention of imamship. The shahadatain, fasting, hajj, prayer, zakat. So we have clear, established evidence upon what the pillars of Islam are, and these are not within them. Also, even if you're looking at it from a logical point of view, all of the pillars of Islam are direct acts of worship. The shahada is tawheed, prayer, fasting, zakat, hajj. Imamship, to you, that's not a direct act of worship like the prayer or giving the zakat or fasting or hajj. You see that the pillars of Islam are outward signposts of the religion that you implement and your worship is based upon. Whereas imamship is something completely different to those others. It doesn't match up with those others at all. So there are many ways to understand that. Also, if you look at the sciences of hadith, we mentioned there, they have some narrations where they mention that the pillars of Islam are 5, they miss out the shahada and they put in the imamship. Then in other narrations they actually say the pillars of Islam are only 3. That is known as being muttarib, al-ittirab. In the sciences of hadith, they say that is like not necessarily conflicting, but along the lines of it being conflicting. That these are narrations that you can't fit together. If one narration is saying there are 5 pillars of Islam, but another one saying there's only 3 pillars of Islam, how do you combine between those 2 narrations? It's either 5 or it's 3. You can't put them together. Ittirab. So again, that indicates that these narrations of theirs are not legitimate and valid narrations. Not only that, but they actually believe the imamship pillar of Islam is the highest pillar of Islam. They believe the imamship, زعمهم أن الإمامة أعظم أركان الإسلام ثم زعمهم أنها منصب إلهي كالنبوة. They believe the imamship is the highest pillar of Islam, for you to believe in that, and that this imamship is of a status that has deification within it. It is a status like prophethood that has revelation and from Allah and something greater than just from the humans. It is like prophethood, revelation from Allah to them of a high level and high status like that. بمعنى أن الله هو الذي يختار الأئمة. So they believe those imams are selected by Allah, just like the prophets are selected by Allah. They believe the imams are selected by Allah. فهذا من الباطل لأن فيه دلالة على أن الأنبياء غير كافيين في تبليغ الدين وبيانه. If this was true, that these imams are at the level of prophethood selected by Allah, just like prophets were, then that indicates that even though the last prophet has come and gone, that the prophethood was not sufficient. It wasn't enough. We needed more to the likes of prophethood through these imams. Allah had to select more people after that. The last prophet came and went, the prophethood finished, but it wasn't enough, we needed more. That's what it would indicate, their belief. So that is of course false also. فاحتاج الأمر عندهم إلى تنصيب الأئمة لإقامة الحجة على الناس. So they believe therefore when the prophets finished, the job wasn't done and it wasn't sufficient, and so these imams, they were needed in order to come and fulfill the rest of what was needed for mankind. That is just briefly looking at the 12ers. There's a lot more on that, but we don't really want to go into every detail. It's only about giving a brief overview of what each type is. But we'll stop on that for today. And there's a bit more on the Shia. We'll cover that next week, inshaAllah ta'ala. Rafida, going into some of their beliefs a bit more, and especially regarding the Quran and how they distorted the Quran and the belief that some of the Quran is hidden and concealed, and also specifically their beliefs about the companions and their abuse of the companions. We'll get into some of that next week, inshaAllah ta'ala, and we'll finish that off, and then after that you go into the Jahmiyyah. After that it's going to be the Jahmiyyah, inshaAllah. Alright, we'll conclude upon that for today.